Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Map Review. This time we're day 5. Today's map review is all about polygons and their properties. Okay, beginning off, we're going to discuss what the sum of the measures of the interior angles of a 33-gon are. What this means is basically asking myself, if I have a 33-sided shape, what do all the angles add up to? There was a formula we could use for this. The formula was 180 times n minus 2. N, in this case, being the number of sides. So, in this case, I would say it's 180 times 33 minus 2, which is also just 180 times 31, because 33 minus 2 is 31. 180 times 31 is 5,580. So, if I have a 33-sided shape, all the inside angles should add up to 5,580 degrees. Number 2 is very similar to that, except we're working a little bit backwards instead. So, number 2 says, if the sum of the interior angles of a polygon is 3,780, how many sides does it have? I'm still using the formula from before, but instead of having the sides, I'm going to solve for the number of sides. So, I have 180 times n minus 2 equals 3,780. And we're going to solve this for n. Now, I could distribute this 180 inside the parentheses, and that's not wrong, but I'm going to save myself a little bit of effort here. Instead of multiplying the 180 inside, I'm going to get rid of the multiplying by dividing. The 180s cancel each other out. And over here, these divide to make 21. Now I've just got one step left. To get rid of minus 2, I plus 2. Giving me n equals 23. So what this means is that a 23-sided polygon would have angles that add up to 3,780. Number 3 says find the measure of angle A, which is this angle here. So the first thing I've got to do is find out what x is. Then I can plug it in to find out what A is. Now, the best way to do this is to add up all of these inside angles and equal them to something. If we were talking about a triangle, I know the inside angles of a triangle add up to 180. If I was talking about a square or a rectangle, I know the inside angles add up to 360. But in this case, I don't know how much the inside angles add up to. So again, we have to use the formula from before to know what all these add up to. I'm going to do 180 times, my n is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because I've got 5 sides, minus 2. When I type this in, I get 540. So all these angles should add up to 540. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to start by combining like terms. 3 plus 9 is 12, plus 7 is 19x. 23 minus 6 plus 90 minus 4 plus 95. If I combined all those, I should get a positive 198. And these all equal the total angle 540. If you're confused where I got this, I just added up all of these angles together and equaled it to the total. Let's solve for x. To get rid of the plus, I need to minus. And I get 342 equals 19x. And then we divide by 19, just like we've been solving for all year. So I get x equals 18. Now that's not answering my question. I want to find the measure of angle A. So now that I know that x is 18, I can go back and plug it in to this angle here. 3 times 18 plus 23, which gives me 77 degrees. Number 4 gives us this. And it's asking me to find angle LMN, this angle here. Well, to do that, I first need to find out what x is. In this case, notice I don't have any inside angles. Instead, I have all outside angles. Inside angles, I would use the formula we used on number 1. But for outside angles, we always equal the outside angles to 360 degrees. No matter what shape I have, outside angles always equal 360. So, I'm going to combine all these like terms all the way around and equal them to 360. 11 plus 4 plus 9 plus 6. Those add up to 30x. These, negative 5 plus 29 plus 61 plus 13 minus 15 plus 67 equals 120. Let's solve it out for x, same way we've been doing all year. Subtract 120 from each side. Divide each side by 30. And now that I know what 8 is, I can use some math knowledge to find out what this missing angle here is. Here's the thought process we need to adopt. This right here is a straight line. So these two angles should make 180 degrees. I only want this angle here. So if I can find out what this angle is, I can subtract it from 180 and find out the missing part. So I'm going to do 11 times 8 minus 5. That gives me 83. So this angle right here is 83. The missing part is going to be 180 minus 83. To get 97 degrees. It was a bit of an in-depth problem, but likely on the map test, you're mostly going to need to know how to do this part here. This is just a little extension to make sure we know how to apply the knowledge. Example 5. If KLMN is a parallelogram, find angle M. Okay, well, if this is a parallelogram, then these two angles here and here, opposite angles, are congruent. Because they're congruent, I can set them equal to each other. 8x plus 17 equals 12x minus 39. And we solve this like normal. Move the 8x over, add the 39 over, divide by 4. And I've got x equals 14. However, my question isn't asking me to find x, it's asking me to find angle M. So, all I got to do now is plug x in for this angle. 12 times x is 14, so I'm going to say 14, minus 39, which gives me 129 degrees. Let's try example number 6. Number 6. In parallelogram, that's good to know, ABCD, if ED is 7x minus 13, and BE is 16x minus 38, find BD. Find the entire length of this cross-section. Well, the good news is, because this is a parallelogram, I can say that this part is congruent to this part, which means we can set up an equation. I can say that 16x minus 38 equals 7x minus 13, and we can solve this out. Subtract 7x from each side, add 38 to each side, and I get 9x equals 25. Then, divide 9 on each side, and I get x equals 2.77 repeating. I know it's a funky number, but sometimes we got to deal with funky numbers. Now that I have that, I'm going to go ahead and figure out what to do next. I want to find BD. That's the entire line here. To do that, I need to plug in what I just got for x for each of these, and then add them together. So I'm going to say 16 times 2.77 minus 38. 16 times 2.77 minus 38 gives me a length of 6.32. In fact, because both of these are congruent, I'm going to get 6.32 for both of them. So if both of these parts of the line are 6.32, I can add them together. 6.32 plus 6.32 to get the total length of this line, 12.64. This one was a little funky because we had such an odd x value. But if we can get over that, it's the same process as we had before. Number 7. GHIJ is a trapezoid. Find the measure of angle H. Now, in this case, a trapezoid, these two are consecutive angles. We're called consecutive angles because they're not on the same parallel line. Instead, they're on different parallel lines. So, consecutive angles are supplementary, which means they add up to 180. So I'm going to add these two together and set it equal to 180. 5x plus 26 plus 8x minus 2 equals 180. Combined like terms, we get 5 plus 8 is 13. X. 26 minus 2 is 24. And it equals 180. Solving this out, I subtract each side 24. And then divide by 13. And I get x equals 12. However, again, let's read the problem. Find the measure of angle H. So I've got to take the x I have and plug it in to this angle. 8 times 12 minus 2. Eight times 12 minus 2 gives me an angle of 94. So my answer is 94 degrees. Let's try out the back now. JKLM is a trapezoid. Find the angle M. Okay. First things first, we got to find some sort of relationship between what we have here and here. These two are on the same parallel lines, so they're called base angles. And base angles are equal to each other. So I can say 8x minus 23 equals 6x plus 11. To move the x from one side to the other, I got to subtract 6x. To move the 23 over, I need to add 23. That gives me 2x equals 34. And then divide by 2 to get x is 17. Now that I know what x is, let's check the problem. It says find measure of angle M. That's this angle here. The way that I can find angle M is I can remember that consecutive angles add up to 180, just like we did on the previous problem. So if I can find out what this angle is, I can subtract it from 180 and get the remainder. The way that I find this angle is I plug in my x value. 8 times 17 minus 23. That gives me an angle of 113. So I can do 180 minus 113 and get 167 degrees. 67 degrees for my missing angle. Number 9, QRST is a trapezoid. Find YZ. Now, in this case, we have a midsegment. The formula for a midsegment is that the midsegment equals base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2. This is my midsegment here, my base 1 and my base 2. So, let's go ahead and set up the equation based on what we have labeled here. My midsegment is 5x plus 1. Base 1 is 2x plus 7. Base 2 is 19 over 2. And we're going to try and solve this out. Now, the first thing I notice on this right side is that I have a fraction. So we're going to try and get rid of the fraction first and foremost before we do anything else. To get rid of a fraction, I need to multiply by the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. On this side, I got to distribute that inside the parentheses, giving me 10x plus 2 equals, and I'm just left with this, 2x plus, let's go ahead and combine these two terms here. 7 plus 19 is 26. And now this looks a little bit more like a regular equation we can solve. To move the 2x over, I minus 2x. Sorry about that. My computer's being a bit odd right now. There we go. To move the 2 over, I got to subtract 2. And I end up getting 8x equals 24. Divide each side by 8, and I get x equals 3. Now again, that doesn't answer my question. I want to find yz. But all I have to do is plug in. 5 times 3 plus 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. Number 10, DEFG is a kite. DE is 15, EH is 11. Find DF. Now, the reason it's important that this is a kite is that a kite says that those two pieces are the same. So if I can find out what this part is, I can double it to get the entire length of this line. And we can find out what this missing part is by using this right triangle right here. Pythagorean theorem. We've practiced this a whole lot. This side is my A, B, and C. So, I'm going to say A squared plus B squared equals C squared. To move the 11 to the other side, I need to subtract 11 squared from each side. And then I got to take the square root to get x by itself. And I get 10.2 for my x value. What that means is that this part here is 10.2, and this part here is 10.2. So together, the line DF is going to be 20.4, because I have to add these two pieces together. Number 11. NOPQ is a kite. Find the measure of angle NQR. NQR is this angle right here. Now, the way we're going to do this is we're going to make ourselves an equation using this right triangle right here. We know that a triangle's angles add up to 180. And we have two of them here and here. Luckily for us, this is a kite. And with kites, this angle and this angle are congruent. So if this is 4x minus 7, I can say this is also 4x minus 7. And so, this angle plus 90 plus this angle should equal 180 degrees. So I'm going to say 11x minus 23 plus 4x minus 7 plus 90 equals 180. Start by combining like terms. And I get 15x plus 60 equals 180. Solve it out just like normal. Minus 60 from each side. Divide by 15. And I get x equals 8. Now remember, we're trying to find the measure of angle NQR, which is this angle here. Luckily, I can just plug in 8 to this and have my answer. 4 parentheses 8 minus 7. 4 times 8 is 32. Minus 7 is 25. We're almost done. We got 2 more left. Number 12. If DEFG is a rectangle, the measure DEG, this angle here, is 4x minus 5, and FGE is 6x minus 21, find the measure of FGE. Find this angle here. That's our ultimate goal. Well, just like the rest of these, first and foremost, I need to find what x is. Luckily for us, this angle and this angle are alternate interior angles. So they're congruent. I can set them equal to each other. Same way we've been doing it this whole paper. Subtract the 4x over, add the 21 to each side. I get 16 equals 2x. Divide each side by 2, and I get x equals 8. Once I know what x is, I can plug it into the missing angle. 6 times 8 minus 21. 6 times 8 minus 21 is 27. And last but not least, if STUV is a rhombus, find the measure of angle STU. STU is this big angle here. Now again, the fact that this is a rhombus is important because it tells me that this angle is equal to this angle, which lets me set up my equation. I can say that 9x minus 43 equals 5x plus 1. Solve this out just like normal. Divide each side by 4. And I get x equals 11. Now, because these are both the same angle, I only have to enter it into one of these two things. And it's going to be the same for each of them. So I'm going to enter it into this one because it's easier to do in my head. 5 times 11 plus 1. 5 times 11 is 55. Plus 1 is 56. So each of these angles are 56. That means that the big angle is going to be 56 plus 56, which is 112 degrees. Now, I know that that's a lot of information to try and remember, but that's why we have the notes available, and that's why we have this video available. If you have any questions on how I did any of these, please leave it in the comments down below. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic day and are ready for Friday, Map Day 6. That is all. Goodbye.